Welcome to the Scariest Things podcast, your gateway to the trends and tropes of the horror genre. And we are in the backstage of the Hollywood Theater for the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival because it's October, and this is the annual Portland Great Tradition. And I have the great honor today to be being joined by one of the masters of the new golden age of cinema, of horror cinema. I have one half of the Aaron Moorhead, Justin Benson team. I have Aaron Moorhead with me. It is a privilege to have you with us today.
Oh my gosh, I am too flattered, and you need to look up the definition of honor and privilege and master.
Okay. Yeah, this is the buttering up of for the podcast effort.
Thank you.
But no, I have for cosmic horror, which is we are in. This is the epicenter for cosmic horror discussions and films at the Lovecraft Film Festival. And I remember seeing The Endless playing here at the Hollywood Theater and thinking this was tailor-made for this festival. And right now we are getting a showing of The Endless, and we had Resolution playing yesterday. And for those of you not familiar with your works, Spring, we had Something in the Dirt, we have Synchronic, a remarkable amount of material done in a short period of time. Yeah. I think it is and I know that sort of in discussion with some of the other filmmakers in here, you're a bit of an inspiration as an independent filmmaker for the aspirations of a lot of the people who are getting their first films out here as looking for a path forward and following in your footsteps. It's I think it's a treat to have you here and amongst all the horror community in Portland. I think we're an enthusiastic group.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of the filmmakers here that for the Scariest Things we're small horror media. And so we lean heavily on festivals and independent filmmakers to build our reputation. It's where we're comfortable. We're not variety, right? We need to find our own niche, and this is so. Your work has been representative of a lot of the stuff that we love to cover, and this is so again. Not to use to lean on the superlatives, but it's a treat.
Oh my gosh! I just realized there's someone in that room over there. That just freaked me out. I thought we were totally alone, and then like a foot just moved from the shadows. That was great.
Jump scare for you?
That was wonderful. No, I loved that.
Right.
Anyways, thank you. Yeah, what was wild is coming in to see, Resolution's a movie that Justin and I made. And also, if I ever say we only ever mean we here, Right. But he's not able to be here with us today. But
because
we're releasing a movie that everyone should watch. It's directed by our longtime friend and editor of all of our movies, Michael Felker. The movie's called Things Will Be Different. It's available in North America on VOD and in theaters right now. Mm-hmm. And it is just an awesome film. Let Rotten Tomatoes tell you how awesome it is.
Yep.
I can pitch it, but I've got
right.
I got skin in the game.
Yeah, and I get to watch it this evening.
Yeah,
because it will be showing here at the Lovecraft Film Festival. I think the ties to cosmic horror you have been described as you mentioned in your keynote yesterday. That you've been described as a marriage between Lovecraft and Linklater, right? As some very heady material, some of the stuff kind of obtuse, but definitely your work has been associated with cosmic horror and with all of the time jumps and the dreams and the addictions and the kinds of things that play heavily in the Lovecraftian lore, and you were giving a bit of a breakdown of what's meaningful to you with cosmic horror.
Yeah.
And would you care to share a bit about what your thesis was?
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, my thesis took me 40 minutes to get to, but the basic idea of it was that I think that there is actually a really warm heart of cosmic horror. And I don't think many people think of Lovecraftian stories as having a nice warm heart to them, like the spiritual architecture of that universe is not joy and love. Exactly.
No, it drifts into madness and chaos and the vastness of the unknown and the unexplainable.
Yeah. And I think to get to that thesis way too fast, because I took a whole country road involving the inner life of octopus.
I love
that. But the basic idea is that I think that the reason that we connect to Lovecraft stories is actually in a way that we are appreciating the dark as a contrast to the light in a way, even though the dark can be beautiful on its own. And so I think we read these stories and we don't think, wow, that's me. I think that we recognize that it's not our experience. And it's in many ways like a warning fable. That's why it's all fiction. Almost all, unfortunately, almost, not actually all cosmic horror is fiction.
Right.
And I think it's genuinely because we think, what if? It preys on our fears, but it isn't a reflection of our reality. So I think that cosmic horror is actually us wanting to excavate the joy within us, the cosmic happiness or the cosmic hope.
Which is, it's counterintuitive, but
Sure.
but there are some things where to being keyed in on some of the mysteries of the universe.
It plays on our curiosity too.
I think back to Something in the Dirt, where there was the equations and discovering the things, these mysteries. Sometimes it's mind blowing, but being able to find those truths. I think that's you've done some exploration of that, and actually, and your character from The Endless, wanting to know, you want to know more. It was like it actually was Aaron, right? You went by your real names in that, but because you were the seeker, you were the one who felt that there was so much more out there, and that particularly if you're sort of the downtrodden and you've had a rough go, all of a sudden it's like, why? How do you explain this? And one thing that I keyed in on, that you were describing something that was, it's not what, I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing that you used. It's not too strange. It's stranger than you can, not stranger than you can imagine, but stranger than you can think. Is that how is it?
And so this is from a documentary we produced that hasn't yet come out. But one of the people interviewed has this amazing line, which is, reality isn't stranger than you think, it's stranger than you can think.
Right.
And which is, obviously an unbelievably great semantic phrase,
right.
But also is absolutely true, I think, and that's like the core of cosmic horror.
And that was also your tie to the octopus.
Yep. The inner life of an octopus is stranger than you can possibly imagine. There's this philosophical essay, I think from the 70s, called What Is It Like to Be a Bat? And I recommend everyone just pause the podcast and go read it. It's short. It's like 30 pages long or something like that. I probably have all of this wrong. It's probably not the 70s, probably not 30 pages, but it's short. And it lays out this case of saying, you think you can kind of imagine what it's like to be a bat, but you can't. It is completely alien to us. And actually most things are completely, the experience of most things is completely alien to us.
Right.
And not just difficult to imagine, but completely unthinkable.
Impossible.
Yeah.
And that is, trying to put your mind in, and I think you were describing with the octopus that it's not just one brain, but it's all, the entire nervous system of the animal it's wired differently, and what it can do with its body is completely alien to what our skeletal system will allow. And just you can't think, it's like, what is it like to be an octopus? It's not, you just can't.
You can't. Yeah, you can imagine what it would be like if you were an octopus,
right.
But you can't imagine that. Right. And it's because, as you were saying, it's like having 8 mouths all getting input at the same time,
right.
But also input into 8 brains that all I can't even say talk to each other necessarily. That there's no way to. There's no analogy, but there's a meta brain of some kind that allows it to be one creature, and yet there are pieces of it that seem to be confused by the actions of the other piece.
And the fact that each of these 8 mouths also has thousands of little mouths that pick up information and how you gather things up. Although it does make you sit back and think about, your sensors. Like, I can hear things, I can see things, I can smell things. So you're taking input in, but it's a different world. It is just something.
Yeah, there's something that Justin brings up a lot where it's ticks. They can see on a completely different spectrum than us.
Like, you mean the insect?
Yeah, the tick insect. And so they see a completely different spectrum. I don't know what wavelength it is, but their world is made out of a sense that we just don't have entirely. There's this awesome movie actually called I Origins. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's got Michael Pitt in it. It's just like this amazing film in the fashion of like the Brit Marling kind of Another Earth sort of thing, and it's in it kind of makes this proposition about how worms, they can't see, and they do an experiment where they are actually able to give a worm the gift of sight.
Oh, whoa.
And it didn't even know that seeing was a thing.
Right.
And then it did. It didn't know that seeing existed, and then it did. And so that, for that worm, if you can think of it like that, is stranger than it can think.
Or the one that always gets me is the hive mind.
Yeah.
And how do the termites or bees, and that they work in synchronicity, and yet their brain structure is almost nothing.
Yeah.
And how they're hardwired to work as a community. Or ants, that they can collectively work together, and it's from chemical trails. It's like, I don't, again, more than you can think.
Yeah.
So that was I loved that expression, and I'll carry that one with me.
Oh, please! I didn't make it. It's some genius on this documentary.
Sure, but I think you also made some references about some of the work that you've done about standing on the shoulders of. If you're standing on the shoulders of Lovecraft, which, from what I understand, was unintentional.
Completely,
That you were brought to the cosmic horror, or the description of cosmic horror, after you had actually done a couple of your films, after you had done Spring.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Linklater as well. Interestingly, I was a late bloomer to him. I don't know what was up, but yeah, it was. I remember when somebody first said, "Is it pronounced Dagon?"
Dagon?
I
think it's Dagon.
When somebody first compared Spring to Dagon, totally baffled.
Yeah, over your head. It's like,
totally baffled.
Okay.
It was just like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that word is.
But indirectly,
completely, absolutely.
That these it is interesting how it's almost a hand-me-down lore.
And then also, really. I honestly feel like cosmic horror is a tone and a mood in film as well, especially in film. In literature too, there's ways to build a picture in the mind, but because it's so specifically many different senses in film, there's just a fear of that you can build of something bigger and greater than the story at hand.
I tend to think that with cosmic horror, there is almost a religious kind of a background, because it's trying to explain things that are incomprehensible. That
Absolutely.
why does the sun rise? Why what causes rain? What's this earthquake? Why? It's like, what happens after I'm dead?
Neil deGrasse Tyson's going to listen to this. He's like, sun rises because it's a planet and it's on a...
Yeah, I know.
He's going to answer all your questions. I know what you mean.
But I think one of the great things when Lovecraft comes around, he takes a more sort of a kind of a scientific approach, meets elder gods and the strange aeons and all this kind of stuff. But that it was talking about tapping into dreams, but these are people who are chasing answers a lot of the time, or that he puts them up against the impossible, and that is.
Have you ever read the? I'm just working my way through it right now. Have you ever read The Yellow King?
I have seen adaptations of the Yellow King, and actually here at the festival.
Cool.
And I actually have a Yellow King statue, but I will admit not having to have read it. What are your insights from the Yellow King?
Well, it's anthological, but I think the one that I'm referring to is the first story in the anthology. I don't know if it is in different order,
Right.
depending on how it's published. But it's about somebody who is, they're living in this slightly dystopian New York, I believe, and in the middle of the city, the
There's a
government.
play, right? It's like
I
think like an opera or something that's tied to it.
Oh yes, oh yeah. The Yellow King is also the name of a manuscript.
Yes.
That people read, and it essentially is the domino that starts whatever bad stuff is going to happen in their life. Often it drives them slightly mad. All of that, but it's from the point of view of somebody who very clearly seems to be. I'm sorry, not very clearly. That's what's great about it. By the end, it becomes evident that they're losing their mind.
Right.
And so you think you're being taken on this story of this person working on this great work. They unlock this futuristic safe every day, and they put this crown on their head briefly, knowing that soon it will be theirs and all of that. And then you realize that it's like there's no safe. The crown is made of wood or something.
Right.
It's like a piece of trash and something like that. And it's just the most unnerving story, and you totally realize why that's one of like the originators of it. And what's weird is also the Robert Chambers, who wrote it,
I was going to say
up continuing that success. He wrote romance novels. Till he was, he tried I think one more time, and it didn't really do anything. And
because he was a contemporary of Lovecraft, right?
They were a little earlier,
after?
I believe.
Earlier?
A little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
I'm so sorry if I'm wrong, guys. I don't know.
You and me both.
Yeah,
I have a recollection of it. I know Carcosa comes into play, but it is a the whole notion of dreams and interpretive, the what things that could drive you mad from any number of sources. This is I come to Lovecraft by way of Dungeons and Dragons,
cool. We never even talked about that.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to anyone about the connection between Lovecraft and D&D.
Because there was for old school guys like me, when I was growing up in the 80s, and there was deities and demigods and there was the section of the Cthulhu mythos, and I said, what the fuck is this? This is just, it is, tentacled, gigantic, unknowable beings, and the art was amazing. And I was like, I knew about Zeus, I knew about all these other deities, but this was like the one that I latched onto. And then as I grew older, I played Call of Cthulhu and sanity checks and all that kind of stuff. That's how I fell in love with this, and why I have a deep attachment to the Lovecraft Film Festival, apart from the fact that they're my local powerhouse festival, and Brian and Gwen are near and dear to me. But that's the notion of mind-blowing, seeing something and just having your whole world turned upside down. And I think, again, with all of your films, there are moments where it's just that revelation. And I think I always look forward to see how you're going to, because you never approach it the same way.
We're always so worried that what we're doing is something that everyone's going to be able to see from a million miles away. It's such a concern, and then we do it, and we realize that most of the time we're just not obvious enough, and it's really fun that way.
Yep.
Because we prefer it. We much prefer to hide the cards a little bit.
Yep.
Every filmmaker does, as far as I know. Oh my God! In that same way, again, you should see Things Will Be Different. That's a movie that, like,
I'm very much looking forward to that.
The whole thing's in there, but it is one of the most rewarding on repeat viewings films. I've seen it 6 times, and I finally got it all.
Yeah, folks, that's your actionable item.
Yeah,
So you
fun.
Go see that. I want to quickly hit on something, because I know that you're a busy man. You got some things to attend to. I was having last year at this time. I was having a conversation with Rebecca McKendry, who was last year's keynote address, and she was talking about liminal horror.
That's hot right now too. And it's cosmic as hell.
Yes, and it is, but it goes into the little tiny things where you're looking at an object for a little second, waiting for something to change or something to blow your that it's because what was I know that the micro budget movie with the little rolling telephone.
Oh yeah, Skinamarink.
Thank you. Is that's cosmic. That
Very.
and you have to be patient with it. But it's almost like you go into the micro and it can blow your mind, or that you can do something like the endless, which becomes very big and vast, and blow your mind. These are all,
And I think it all comes down to like it's a mood.
Yes.
You know, cosmic horror is more of this gut feeling. I think that you're able to access than even the story. Because Skinamarink, I mean, it's hard to even say its story in a way.
Yeah.
You know, and why you should watch it. It is all tone, which
Yes.
I think is really interesting, and I think that's going to be a super interesting coming wave that'll totally counterpoint like the other rising wave of like maximalist movies. It'll be we're about to introduce this really cool
Yep.
place where there's going to be these movies that will completely blow us away, and people say, "What's it about?" And it'll be hard to even say what. And that's not the first time it's ever happened,
Right.
but I think people are start to cue into that and start to have the patience for it.
I'll be very interested to see how influential that movie is, because it was so different, to the point where it felt like an advanced thesis project from somebody.
Yeah.
And it would, and you'd have these between sort of the simplicity of the shots and the sound design, and done for like pocket change. You know, that's these, and again, that's why we do like festivals like this. And seeing how people can do more with less. I was very impressed with the Demon that came out. It looks like it's punching way above its weight.
Can't wait to see it. Yeah.
That's been fun. So yeah, I think this is we really appreciate you coming up to Portland and showing us all your stuff.
It's been a joy. It's been so cool, and also just this city is. I mean, it's boring to say how special Portland is, but it's just so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is great.
Well, we appreciate you coming up, Aaron. Look forward to all of your future work, and thanks for taking the time out to join us.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yep.